Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back for my second video. This is the top 5 reasons why Cersei should win the Iron Throne and why she isn't a comic book villain, a bad villain, a one-dimensional villain, or even an incompetent villain. I'm going to teach you guys the error in your ways, so listen close. We're going to start with the least compelling reasons first, and then we're going to build our way up to the ones that I think are the most important and the ones that really show why she deserves to win this shit. Alright, let's get into it. The first reason why Cersei deserves to sit on the Iron Throne is because of all the bullshit she has to put up with all this time and all the concessions that she's made to sit where she currently sits. Let's just run the gamut, take this step by step to really see what I'm talking about. First of all, she's had to live with and fuck Robert Baratheon. Just take a moment to imagine that. Big fat Robert Baratheon sweaty ass pounding inside of you. That shit is nasty, man. That's just making me want to throw up just thinking about it. Who knows how often she had to put up with that? Imagine. I mean, it had to be pretty stressful to, you want your own child with someone that you actually love. Try and pull that sneaky on the king, knowing full well that if anyone found out about that, well, shit, you'd be dead, your kids would be dead, your lover would be dead. I mean, that shit would be fucked, man. So that's a pretty stressful situation right off the bat, and that's before we even really get into the main story. Secondly, she's constantly looked down on for her affair with Jaime. Now, granted, it's weird as fuck and illegal and gross in our world, but in Westerosi world, it's just weird as fuck and kind of gross. It's not illegal, and yeah, you gotta take some shit for it from people behind their back, but let's be realistic. The Targaryens, who, I mean, apparently everyone looks up to them or some shit, they've been doing it for a long ass time. Okay, Targaryens, they did lose some face with the Mad King who wanted to burn everybody, but they had a pretty good run before that. Everyone seemed to really like Rhaegar. I mean, everyone liked Aegon before him. The whole thing with Sir Duncan the Tall and Little Egg, like everyone enjoyed that. Targaryens, generally considered a noble line. Also, rampant with incest. No reason to give Cersei such a hard time for it. It's not like there was no precedent. On top of that, she's always had to maneuver and try to maintain any influence and a normal relationship with her sons. First Joffrey, with Tyrion, with Myrcella, and then Tommen with Myrcella and the Faith Militant. Now, I know what you guys are probably thinking. You're thinking, Dan, you're completely wrong, man. She was trying to control and manipulate her son so she could sit in a seat of power. But why don't you take a step back for a moment? Consider this. You're a mom, and you absolutely love your children. You would die for them. You would do anything for them. Do you really think that these power-hungry grabbers, less than after whatever power that they can grab, you think that they're really looking out for the best interest, or do you think that you are? You're gonna think that you are, and it's pretty fucked up that all these people are coming in trying to take that away from you. I mean, you can't even have a normal relationship. Think about what happened with the Faith Militant. They got Tommen, who was like a little baby boy, to try and send her away. That shit was fucked up, man. So she's had to put up with a lot, and that maneuvering in and of itself, it also displays a little bit about why she's not a comic book villain, because she clearly has some competency. She's one of the best players at the Game of Thrones now. She's not one of the big four, Littlefinger, Varys, Tywin, and Tyrion, but I mean, she's right up there. She's definitely top 10, no doubt about it. And lastly, on a more recent note, she's had to fuck Euron to maintain her naval fleet. Now that's also fucked up, because Euron, in the books, he's a badass dude. He's a cold dude, and he's kind of crazy on top of that. Probably thinking about becoming like a god or like the next Night King, honestly, when you're really looking at it from the book's perspective. But from the show, he's just a fucking weirdo. He's like, now he's the comic book villain. I don't even know what to say about the lad. What's going on with Euron, guys? Earth to Euron, is anybody home? The answer is fucking no. He's just an empty shell of a man who just wants to fuck the queen. He's got no motivations outside of that, and on top of that, he's like a dick. So his character sucks, and she doesn't want to fuck Euron. No one wants to fuck Euron. I mean, this is the second guy that she's had to let rape her for political standing. That's just not ideal. That's some serious bullshit to be putting up with. Alright, that rounds off explanation number 1 for why she deserves the throne, because she's put up with a lot of bullshit and she deserves a big win. Now, for reason number 2 why she deserves to win this is because of how much she's had taken away from her. After all of this suffering, she deserves a win. Firstly, Joffrey was killed for, you could say it's a good reason, but it was still her son, and he didn't commit any crimes. necessarily against the Tyrells per se. He was the king. I really don't know how law works in Westeros. Maybe the king is legitimately above the law there. I mean, don't get me wrong. Okay, Joffrey was a crazy dick. Joffrey was a sadist, and Joffrey was fucked up in the head. But from Cersei's perspective, that's her son. She loves him very much, and he was ripped out of her hands in the most brutal fashion. I mean, you watch his face turn blue and his eyes pop out, futilely grasping for life as it just slips away from his fingers like trying to grab water. Ooh, that shit was gut-wrenching for Cersei to watch. And that was only the first loss. After that, they get Myrcella's necklace in the mail. That's a clear threat. So she sends Jaime on and Bronn on a secret mission to get her back. They have her in their hands. They're sailing away, and oh boy, it comes again. She coughs up the blood, and down she falls like a sack of bricks. That shit was fucked up again. She had her beloved daughter, her only daughter, who she said was pure. She said she was pure. She was nothing like her. She said she wanted to take that and protect that purity. She said that she knew that she was fucked up. She knew that she had issues, but she made something so pure, and she thought if she could just protect it, it would make everything okay, and they fucking took it away from her. That shit had to be brutal. And then she was down to her last boy. She's thinking about the prophecy. She's thinking to herself, Tommen's destined to die. The Woods Witch said it was going to happen. This shit is written in stone. There's nothing I can do for him, but I'm still going to do my best anyways. I'm not going to let this stupid prophecy run my fucking life. Fuck that shit. So you know what she does? She recognizes that everyone's trying to grip their claws in them. All the money, power-hungry leeches in the Red Keep and in King's Landing, they all want a piece of the king. They all want to get that power for themselves. Cersei's telling them they're not going to have it. She's got the Faith Militant locking her up in a cage, walking her around town naked, everyone jeering at her, throwing shit at her. She's got the Tyrells with Marjorie seducing him, fucking a child just so that she can get better standing. And so you know what Cersei does? She arranges for all of them to meet up in the Sept of Baelor. Alright. Maybe arranges is given a little bit too much credit, but the world is always going to give you situations, and it's up to you to take advantage of those situations. And she saw a situation where everyone who she fucking hated was going to be sitting in the same room. Alright, not everyone. Tyrion was notably absent, but almost everyone, and she blew them the fuck up. That shit was crazy. Sept of Baelor went out. Boom! All of a sudden, her son is all hers again, except for one little problem. She thought Tommen was going to be safe because she locked him in his room with Sir Gregor, who seems to be about a robot at this point, you know, a zombie robot. Nothing's getting by him. So there's no way that she could have known that he was just going to jump out and end his life. Let's be realistic here. Boys of 12, they don't, or however old he is. I think he's like 12, 13, 15 max based on how he looks. They don't often jump out the buildings, and even when their wife dies and their favorite church, I guess, gets blown up. Still, not really a reason to kill yourself, I think, but Tommen's gonna Tommen, and gonna take a page out of Bran's book and learn to fly, or fall, and that covers reason number 2. Because of how much she's had taken away from her, I feel like she deserves a win. Now, getting into the real important reasons here. Number 3, how badass she is. When you want someone to win the Iron Throne, you don't want it to be a little mushy, generic storybook ending like your typical Marvel movie. The hero figures out a way and everything ends for the best and it's happily ever after. No, this is Game of Thrones. This is real life. No, I mean, this is a TV show, but in the show, this is real life, and they show you that shit season 1 when Ned gets his head lopped off. That was the main character out the door. This is Thrones, this is real life, and you want someone to take the throne who takes it because they are ruthless, and they grab it, and they don't give a fuck about the consequences. And if you ask me, doing that is fucking badass, and that's what Cersei is. Let's look at her track record of being badass. Like I said, when she wants something, she takes it. She wants to be free of an asshole, serial, cheating husband, whoring husband, who's a giant dick. So you know what she does? She kills him. Sets up her son to sit on the throne. She gets some more power. She's doing well. Uh-oh, Ned wants to oust her secret that her son's a bastard and has no right to sit on the throne. Well, that's not a problem for Cersei. She just kills the motherfucker. Makes quick work of him. On to the next. And what is the next? Well, When her son Joffrey dies in front of her, like I said earlier, very excruciating experience, she immediately points to her little brother, who she hates, who she loathes, had a grudge against him since he slit out the womb and killed her mom. Now, granted, Cersei knew, or likely knew, that Tyrion didn't do it, but shit didn't matter to her. She just had Joffrey ripped away from her, and that was a big time loss. She wasn't about to wait to walk from that situation without at least a little bit of the win, so she points her finger at him and she says, "Kill this motherfucker," and everyone scrambles to do it. It's absolutely crazy. Even though it's highly unlikely that Tyrion did anything, and it's obvious that all the witnesses have been tampered with at the trial. Doesn't matter, everyone plays along with that. Then, later on, it's just her and Tommen. The Tyrells and the Faith Militant are digging their fingernails into him, pulling him in either direction, like some kind of tug of war for the king. Who's gonna get the power? Who's gonna manipulate the little boy and put their ass on the Iron Throne? Well, Cersei has the answer for you, and the answer is neither, because as soon as they end up in a room together, that room goes up into a giant ball of green flames and they're fucking evaporated. Seriously, did you know people could evaporate? I've heard of burning people before, but usually there's at least a little bone left behind or something. No, these people, they're literally dust falling down in the sky. It's absolutely insane. She's crazy, but it's a badass kind of crazy. Then, Daenerys comes, and she's threatening her position. Cersei knows the prophecy. It tells her that someone younger and more beautiful than her is going to take her off the throne. So what does Cersei do? She replies in kind. She takes out those two big middle fingers of hers, shoves them in Dany's face, and tells her to fuck off because she's going to keep this shit no matter what. She doesn't give a shit about fate or prophecy or anything. She's going to take it. It doesn't matter. So she makes the moves. What kind of moves does she make? She sucks it up and lets Euron fuck her and even makes some kind of tenuous promise to marry him so she gets 1,000 ships. Then she goes, defeats the Tyrells, and loots and pillages through all of Highgarden to get the gold to pay the Iron Bank off, and then secure another loan to get the Golden Company. 20,000 men of the strongest mercenaries that the world has ever seen. I mean, just take a moment, put yourself in Cersei's shoes, think about what you would do, and be honest with yourself, because I know what I would do. You've had a prophecy explained to you. You're not going to marry a prince, you're going to marry a king. You're going to have 3 kids. They're going to have gold gowns, and then they're going to die with gold shrouds. And after that, a younger, more beautiful princess is going to come and steal the throne away from you, and you're dying. Okay, so given that that's the situation, and steps 1 through 4 have already been completed, and all that's left is step 5 of the prophecy, what are you going to do? You're going to try and hold on for dear life and not let prophecy and fate rip away the last vestige of hope that you have? Or are you going to run away, just try and keep your life intact, maybe throw out a peace treaty, say, hey, look, my bad, let me rule Casterly Rock, we can forget about this whole thing. Realistically, it's probably the best way to escape all this shit. Chances are, they would honestly let it happen. No one wants any more war. That's what I would do. That's what you would do if you're being honest with yourself. Most likely. Maybe we got some heroes in my audience. I got a pretty small audience, but who knows? Maybe I attract the heroes. Good for you guys. But at any rate, what she's doing is incredibly badass. She's looking fate in the eye, and she's saying, go fuck yourself. She's going to make moves to grab what she wants anyways. And I'm telling you, that's incredible. That takes balls. Balls like this world has not seen. It's crazy. Talking about balls, look at what she did at the end of season 7. The world is going to end. She's brought face to face with a killer zombie. If they fail up north, she's absolutely fucked. And you know what she does? She goes for broke. She lets the motherfucker ride. She thinks to herself, okay, if I send all my troops up north, there will be a better chance that we can all survive. But at the same time, if I send my troops up north, then if we do survive, I'm not going to be able to hold on to the Iron Throne, and in which case, surviving is fucking meaningless. So you know what? Fuck yourselves. I'm going to let it ride that you guys are going to defeat the zombies, come back all weekend. I'm going to be here at full strength, better than full strength, because I'm securing a loan to get the Golden Company. And I'm going to tell you guys to go fuck yourselves, and I'm going to hold on to this shit. So yeah, Cersei's badass. There can be no doubt about it. Now, reason number 4, my second best reason why Cersei deserves the Iron Throne, and it's also my key point in explaining why she's not a comic book villain, she's not incompetent, she has motivation, she's not just bad for the sake of bad or a sadist, etc. No, she's a real person with depth. This reason is that she does what she does for many reasons, and it's not just because she's bad. First of all, she has a strong desire to live up to her father's name. This is brought up explicitly in the show. She wants her father's recognition as his rightful heir. She brings it up right to his face, and he basically laughs it off, okay? She's maneuvered. She's defeated enemies. She's done a bunch of shit. Tywin doesn't give a fuck. He looks at her, and he sees a woman, and that's it. A pawn to be used to help the males in the family gain further prestige and position. It doesn't matter to her, though, because when he's gone, she wants to carry on that legacy. She wants to be Tywin Lannister. She knows that there's the Lannister name. It's a duty of hers that she feels deep in the core of her bones to carry out, almost as if that's the real prophecy of Cersei Lannister, is to be a Lannister. And this is even implied through the Iron Bank interaction, when the banker explains how much more efficient she was even than Tywin, who was synonymous with the word efficiency. Another critical reason that Cersei has to act the way she does is to protect her family. The first time you see this is when her entire line is brought in danger by the threat of Ned ousting her secret of her affair with Jaime to the world, and she just has him killed. Simple as that, clean cut. She's very pissed when Myrcella gets shipped off, and she even cries, which is a pretty rare sight from Cersei. But when Myrcella is killed, you can see the blood in her eyes, man. She is fucking ravenous. Now, granted, she was not the one to deal the justice to the Sand Snakes, but seeing what she does to Ellaria and Tyene Sand, it's mind-boggling. That's all I can say. It's absolutely mind-boggling. I had a stupid little grin on my face watching that. And now you guys probably all think I'm some kind of Buffalo Bill serial killer, but I don't even care. Watching that was so satisfying, so cathartic. I just really want to see those fucking Sand Snakes get their just comeuppance. And let me tell you, it wasn't enough to just see him die. I had to see the look of horror in their eyes that Cersei had when Myrcella fell, and whoo, giving Tyene that same little kiss, and watching them having Ellaria just fucking watch her decompose. I mean, that shit was wild, man. And that happened right after she gave that little soliloquy about how when she was a little girl, she didn't really understand the finality of death, and how she kept praying that her mother would come back, and that she never did, and how she used to lay awake at night thinking about her decomposing, wondering, what color is her flesh at this point? Is she bloating, or has the bloating stopped? Is she now getting eaten by worms? That type of crazy shit. So you're thinking all of that. You're thinking, oh my god, Ellaria's gonna watch her daughter puff up like a balloon, turn purple, and then blow up, just kind of pop, and then the worms are gonna eat her, and maggots and shit, and she's just gonna watch her beloved daughter turn into a skull step by step, smelling it the whole way through. I mean, that is fucked up. And that reminds me, I almost forgot about this, but do you guys remember Septa Olenna? You might recall a little bit of a resting bitch face, still kind of cute, very modest, did excellent maintenance of the quaint and cozy cells that she maintained. Really, she would have made an excellent Airbnb host. Very stern, but keeps tight ship. I would have stayed at her place. And let's be real, we all have fond memories of Septa Olenna. She was the first one to really beat Cersei into place. I mean, Cersei was getting kind of crazy at this point. I know that this is my rant on how much I enjoy Cersei as a character, but even I was kind of enjoying seeing Cersei kind of get beaten down. I was really curious about what she was going to do next with this, and oh boy, did she ever give a payoff. Oh man, poor Septa Olenna. I feel like I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk on this on YouTube. Is this shit gonna get pulled off? Cause what she did to her, that shit is for adults only, man. I mean, Sir Gregor is a fucking zombie. The dude is purple, and I can only imagine the kind of hog he had beforehand. Imagine getting raped by an undead hog. You thought getting raped by Robert was bad? Holy fuck, Cersei is out of her mind, and I fucking love it. But back on topic, Cersei does what she does to protect her children, and when she can't protect her children, she fucking avenges them, and that was shown point blank with the Sands. Of course, then we get to Tommen. Everyone kind of feels like she let Tommen down, like she was the reason Tommen killed himself, and to an extent, that is true, but you gotta see things from Cersei's perspective. From Cersei's perspective, Tommen was knee-deep in a cult, and other than that, she's got a wife with his hands around his neck. How is she gonna get her son out? How's she gonna keep him okay? Well, she could have maybe been a little more gentle about it, but she did find a way to get their claws off him. I mean, burning them off, but still, it's effective, I guess. from a very sadistic point of view. Of course, Tommen did end up killing himself, but you gotta keep in mind, Tommen was supposed to be at the Sept. So it's not like Cersei had given up on Tommen. She locked Tommen in her room and had him protected by what is probably the strongest fighter in the entire universe of Game of Thrones. So he was in pretty good hands. The only real issue is that Gregor is a fighter, not a person. So when Tommen's about to kill himself, if you maybe had like a real person in there, probably could have stopped him, probably could have offered some comforting words or something. But when you're trapped in a room with your mom's zombie, it kind of gives off a bad impression. She probably could have thought that through a little bit better, and that probably was a big reason why Tommen did the jumpy jump. Alright, and then her last key motivation for why she does what she does is because she is greedy and power hungry as fuck. But then, that's why we're saying she's such a bad villain, because she's so one-note, so one-dimensional. No one wants power in such an extreme way. No one would ever be that extreme about it. Hold on. The world has been filled with crazy and evil people who've done some pretty crazy and fucked up shit, not only to get power, but maintain it, and even worse shit once they had it. Cersei isn't even like that. Cersei's not some evil, she's not some Hitler type of crazy person. Cersei's just a regular monarch who has her power challenged at every corner, and she's had to take some pretty crazy steps to maintain it. Now you gotta keep in mind that when you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die, and Cersei's well aware of that fact. She's not about to die, so if you're in a situation where you can either A, do some kind of fucked up shit to maintain an absolute seat of authority and be the most envied person in the land, or B, rot in a grave, I think the answer becomes pretty clear. So yeah, Cersei's pretty greedy and power hungry, but she also is a spoiled little girl who came from a very rich family and was constantly in a state where she got everything that she wanted, and she was also taught from a very young age, if not through lessons, then by example, how to maneuver to get that power and how to maintain it and how to manipulate people and all that crazy shit that goes on in the show. So let's be realistic. Were you expecting her really to act any different? When we're looking at our main protagonists now, who are your typical great protagonists, gonna save the world type of people, neither one of them was in that situation. Jon Snow was a bastard who was an outcast of his parents, and the other one was an orphan who was only alive because some people decided that, she might turn out to be alright, we'll keep her in case things go really bad with King Robert. So from that perspective, it was pretty unlikely that they would end up like Cersei, but from Cersei's perspective, it was almost inevitable that she would be as she was. Alright, and now for the last reason, the best reason, the only real reason that matters if we're being honest with ourselves, and that is that Cersei deserves to sit on the Iron Throne because it would be fucking awesome, and it would honestly logically make sense. Consider her situation. She has 20,000 fresh troops in the Golden Company who are well known as the best mercenaries in the world. Jorah was among them, and he was a top tier fighter. Chances are he wasn't even some kind of officer, so you gotta imagine they have officers and captains. If Jorah is just a soldier, then what the fuck is a captain or a general like in this army? It's gotta be insane. On top of that, she has all her thousands of regular Lannister troops, and all her liege houses, and probably troops from the lands that she has conquered from, the Reach and other areas like that. Top of this, she's got a collection of ballistae, which a single hit wasn't enough to take down Drogon, but you gotta imagine if you have a whole collection of them and people firing, that's gonna prove pretty challenging for the dragons to maneuver on. She's got 1,000 ships, courtesy of Euron Greyjoy, and she has wildfire, which if you put that in a barrel with some trebuchets, that is going to be absolutely devastating to any regular army trying to ride on her. She has Qyburn, and we don't necessarily know that Qyburn has something crazy up his sleeve, but if we know Qyburn, then we know that he has something crazy up his sleeve. It's gotta be crazy, and I can't wait to figure out what it is, if it exists. Let's be real, the show writers have kind of not given us the best show lately for season 8, so this could be a disappointment, but I'm hoping for the best, and I think you should too. I think they've got something for Qyburn up their sleeve, and I'm looking forward to figuring out what it is. I remember the way he looked at that White's hand, and I'm hoping to find some more Robert-like individuals in the Lannister regular army. Now, let's consider what Daenerys has. She has absolute scraps of northern soldiers that survived the battle for Winterfell, if there are any. She has whatever Dothraki and Unsullied she left at Dragonstone, because the rest of them got absolutely decimated at Winterfell. And she has 2 dragons, but her most dangerous weapon, and if she wins, this is the weapon that's going to win it for her. Let me tell you about this weapon. This shit is not something you can buy in stores. It is called plot armor, and she has the top tier variety. She has all the show's main protagonists on her side. Now, Daenerys herself, I don't really know how thick her plot armor runs. She really hasn't been put in that many dangerous situations. Her most critical was the past episode where Jorah was kind of holding out for her. So, for all I know, she could actually be immortal. But there's no way mere mortals are going to kill the likes of Samwell Tarly or Podrick Payne, who survived the army of the dead despite being complete novices at warfare. Okay, that is some thick plot armor. They are Jesus Christ incarnate in this show, and you're not going to kill them easily. The best you're going to be able to do is drive them away. But I think Cersei has it in her to do it. On a serious note, though, when we're really considering the two armies, it's basically 20,000 fresh troops, a few thousand other Lannister troops, a collection of ballistae, and 1,000 ships versus 2 dragons. Honestly, it's tough to say who has the lead, and that's why I think the show writers are the ones who ultimately make this decision. I mean, of course, they ultimately make every decision, but sometimes you write the show in such a way that your hand is sort of forced. And in this case, their hand isn't really forced. It could go either way. Therefore, I think it would be absolutely awesome if what occurred was not what we expect. We expect those dragons to come in and absolutely roast those ships like they did in Slaver's Bay and completely roast those ballistae while they're trying to swivel around and aim at them. I mean, that's cumbersome as fuck. That's really difficult. That's a tough shot to hit. And just completely roast the troops too. They don't have the long-range weaponry really to take out these dragons. It would be incredibly difficult. But if Qyburn has something crazy up his sleeve, it could completely be done. Now, I don't really know what that is, but I think it would be the best way to end the show. Qyburn pulling out an absolute miracle out of his ass and downing those 2 dragons. And so you guys are probably thinking, though, having Cersei win, that would be totally unsatisfying. And in most cases, you would be right. Just like how it's totally unsatisfying for Arya to pull a Michael Jordan jump and kill the Night King and end the main plot. But there is a way to get it done right, and that's going to be the topic of my next video. And that's just about going to wrap it up for today, guys. Stay tuned for my next video where I'm going to walk you through the best what if ever, which is what if Cersei wins the Iron Throne? How could it be done? I'm going to give you the step-by-step and explain to D&D exactly how they should have ended this show, because if we're being honest, this is probably not how it's going to go down, but it would be best. Alright, peace out, guys. Looking forward to getting back to you on my next show. Next show is going to be scripted. I've kind of realized that maybe I'm not the best at this off-the-cuff stuff. Gonna keep working on it, though. Thanks for sticking with me.